Season 7 Bonespear. A lot of changes for the better. Certainly hitting harder, running higher pits. I'm stuck at a ceiling of 109 right now with my current setup. There's going to be some changing. I'm going to try some drastic things here, just do something completely different, see if it works. But as for just a regular bone spear, not a blood spear, this is just a regular bone spear. We are incorporating some other elements, like you'll see here when I get to the skill tree, but it's not too bad. Pushes 105 almost. With this setup, you can push 105 no problem. It's when you start to getting like 109, 108, that's when it starts to get tough for me anyway. But as for the build goes, started off, same thing as always, Deathless Visage. Try to get a greater affix into chance for Bone Spear and Bone Spear. That'd be better. Same with the Shroud of False Death. Try to get greater affix on max life or double roll it. I was very unlucky. Gloves, I would have preferred a greater affix on Bone Spear because I can pop for attack speed, but it is what it is. Blood Moon Breaches, I really only care about the bottom stat, but it's nice to have a greater affix on critical strike chance. Path of True Ghouls, greater affix on Bone Prison cooldown over Bone skills. But if you're lucky enough like me, you can get one with both. Grandfather, I would have liked a greater affix on max life or damage or both. Can't get it. Very difficult for me. I've been gambling lots, not working out for me. Amulet, same thing as always. Intelligence, Compound Evulsion. I would like to re-roll the resource cost reduction into cooldown, but I am not risking my good amulet. I only got 3 rolls left, and I'm just not risking it. I started out this way, and when I get another one, I'll try it with that. But the ring is we're doing 15% chance to restore primary resource. That's important. And then same thing, intelligence, attack speed, critical strike damage, preferably greater affix on critical and intelligence, but Star of the Skies, greater affix on core skills or attack speed. I mean, to be honest, just anything you get a greater affix on, that one's pretty good for this build. Now, for the runes. The runes that we're going to run on this build are Ham and Watt. So cast non-channel core skill, you get your Decrepify every 4 bone spears. And with this build, how fast it is, really good, really fast. On the chest plate, we're running CIR and QAX, so cast 5 skills become exhausted for 3 seconds. I don't know what it means become exhausted for 3 seconds because it doesn't seem to slow me down or anything. It works really good. So I didn't even look into it at all. It works. Your next non-basic can spend all of your primary resource to deal 100% increased damage. That works really well. It gives you those big hits. This ring here with the 15% chance to restore 20% and your bone prison, now giving you 40 essence and 65 if you trap a boss. You can keep your essence up between them two. You will hit a couple times where you're not going to be able to, but it's pretty reliable. That's why I want to get this to have, another 20% resource. It'll just be that much better. Okay, as far as the gems in my rings, we are running, I don't know what this one's called, but it's while you have 3 or more growth and decay, your witch powers, you gain 8% primary core set, 10% maximum life, 8 times and 10 times. And then with my ring, I am running, you can see it here, for each of your auroras or hexes, an enemy is affected, they take 2% times increased damage from you. And then my last one is you deal 15% times overpower damage to hexed enemies. So, and then my witch powers, I'm running Piranado. Fully leveled up, it's pretty sweet because you can run into a group and it will just suck them all in, and then you can just bone prism, and then you can tendril afterwards. So you don't have to worry, you can save your tendrils for them few that are running towards you afterwards. It works really slick. Aurora Specializations just gives me a little bit bigger auras, and that 35% increased critical strike chance is very nice. Aurora Siphoning, the little bit of healing you get is nice. You don't really need it, but I just needed another Aurora to make all my things work. And then the Hex of Whispers, same thing. These ones I just needed a Hex or an Aurora to get them to have enough, have the 3 and 2. So I'm not really too concerned about what it does as long as it hexes them. And then this one is just same thing, a Hex. Just wanted it. And this one, primary Soul Harvest, whenever you use a cooldown, that one seems to work well too. Same thing, I just needed a growth and decay. So Um, that's my witch powers onto the Book of the Dead. This season, I am sacrificing them for resistance all because I could not get 70% in all my resistances for some weird reason. Like I just to get the damage that I needed and everything, so I sacrificed them. Skeletal mages, overpower sacrifice, golem, and then it's down into critical strike sacrifice. All right, now we are on to our skill tree. Skill tree is the same up top. 1, 2, just to get us next tree. Max out Bonespear all the way to supernatural for that extra overpower damage. And then I went 2 into Hued Flesh, 3 into Perfectly Balanced. Blood Mist, I went all the way out to Dreadful. We get that 10% times critical strike damage when we come out of Blood Mist. And then I went 2 into Necrotic, 2 into Titan's Fall, 1 into Spiked Armor, 1 into Corpse Explosion, 3 into Fueled Death, 1 into Bone Prison, all the way out to Ghastly Bone Prison just to get that essence. 2 into Death's Embrace, 3 into Amplify, 1 into Decrepify, all the way out to Abhorrent. Corpse Tendrils, I went 1 all the way out to Plague just to get that Vulnerable. You don't really need this one here, either of these two, but I just like it because my Piranado brings them all in, and then when the other ones start running, that's when I Tendril and it brings them all into my Bone Prison after that. It kind of picks up the stragglers. The Piranado works really good with this build. I put 1 into Necrotic, I put 1 into Serration, and then I maxed out Compound, Evulsion, and Rapid. Just max those all out. I put 3 into Finality, 3 into Memento, and 3 into Standalone. Some good passives right there. And then I put 3 into Inspiring Leader too. We cannot, if you're starving for points, you can take some out of this because with all our other things that give us critical strike chance when we start ramping up, we're hitting so many crits, you can steal a point or two from here. I put 4 into Soul Rift all the way out, and this is where it changes. I was running Ostfield Essence, and before I got the Star of the Skies, I had the Ostfield Essence aspect and this on, and it was working, but I hit a ceiling. I had to take away the Ostfield Essence to put on the Star of the Skies, and it got worse. So I just tried a bunch of things, and I tried this because you do 100%, 120% times increased overpowers, and it seemed to bust me through my ceiling. So this is the way I'm running it now, and it seems to be working. It's helping me push a little bit farther. Paragon, we're going to go over. Starting board is going to be Sacrificial. Get that one in there. I really like this glyph. I didn't grab these points first. Obviously, you need 250. I stopped at 250, but I put 1 in. You need 252 points to do this totally, but 250 will get you this build done. So Sacrificial to start. Our next board is going to be Bone Graft, and we're going to run the Essence glyph here. So that'll go there. And like always too, I never maxed this out right away. I try to get a bunch of boards open before I fully max it out because it's not fully leveled anyway. So I try to get about half as that. Like I don't grab any of these, and I don't grab this one. You know what I mean? So like save yourself some points there for a while. Our third board is going to be Bloodbath with increased overpower damage, and we're going to run Eliminator in this glyph spot. I ran Dominate here just to have a little bit of overpower bet damage until I got my 5th board opened up. So I ran Dominate here for a long time. Our 4th board is going to be Flesh Eater and those Corpse Explosions. And on this board, we're going to run Control for that crowd control. I like this glyph. It seemed to do quite a bit of damage when I put it in. I didn't have it in here till after I had everything at like 90, and I leveled it up, and it once again helped me get a bunch more damage. You get 34.2% times damage to crowd control, and you're always crowd controlling with your Pronado, your Bone Prison, your Tendrils. You're just always crowd controlling, and your Tendrils come back in like a second, so you're just always Tendriling, and same with Bone Prison. Our fifth board is Frailty, and we are going to run Dominate in this spot at the end, so you can get 79 out of 25 willpower on this board. It's pretty good. Yeah, and that's the Paragon board. And for our mercenaries, I switched it up this season and run Rare, or however you say that, all the way down to here. I'm running this one because you can do, whenever he does his Valiance, which is this, which one is it? Yeah, his Valiance is 30 seconds, right? So every 30 seconds, he basically gives you like 4 core skills that cost zero resource. So if you have none by any chance you run out, you can still cast them, and then they deal 25% increased cooldown. And his Valiance is reduced by 25%. So you're not even waiting 30 seconds, you're waiting a little over 20. So that's pretty cool. And then for support, it's always Variana for me with Bloodthirst for the attack speed. So that is the build. That's the way I would go with it. Now, if I was going to do a non-Uber version, keep in mind all these runes and stuff. I would swap around like this one on my ring. Where is it? Right there. So you could run whatever you want. I like the cast skill when you heal, but because you heal so much with this build already with Bonespear healing you, you could switch it up to something else. But this is kind of how I would run it. I would run Bonespear is guaranteed to overpower enemies here. I would run Ostfield Essence here, Sacrifice and Tendrils in between these two. And then for this one, I would put Bonespear's primary attacks make enemies vulnerable. That's the only thing I would change up. And I would run that until I got an Uber or switch it around. If I ended up getting a grandfather or something here, I'd put that overpower. I'd put this aspect onto here, right? I would drop the Bonespear's primary thing to make enemies vulnerable, the very first one. Well, actually, maybe not. I'd probably drop Ostfield Essence and switch over to the Overpower, right? Because if you're going to run a non-Uber version with Ostfield Essence aspect, you might as well run this. But try it out. See which one works better. You can not run this aspect, run something else, and run the Overpower one too, right? I never really tried that, but I had a grandfather pretty early on, and the same with the Starless Skies. I got pretty lucky. So, anyways, that would be my non-Uber version. And for that, I would run the same runes. And if you were having problems with Essence, if it was just disappearing on you, you couldn't keep it up for some reason, I would switch it up with this one right here. Gain 20% maximum life. That sacrifice the 100% damage because you're not keeping your Essence, so you're not getting the damage anyway. Just give yourself 20% more life. That would be the way I would do it. Yeah. And also too, I run this with all these 4 things all the time. I run Spiral Morning to give me more stats and everything. This gives me 750 life. This just gives me that extra little bit of resistance. It's not that I need it, but I've just been running it. I probably should run a different one. And then I run this one for give me more health. So all in all, I got 14,700 health. That's pretty good for a Bonespear. And if you don't like running this, I didn't run this till after I was pushing pit 100. That's kind of when I needed it. What I did is I ran this, and when you cast 4 Bonespears, you're immediately 17,000 life. And you're always doing that, so you're always at 17,000. It's nuts. So that worked really well, and I keep that on sometimes too. I've been going back and forth, but anyways, that's the build. Hope you guys enjoyed. If anybody builds it, hope it works well for you. Thank you.